Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Mercia. Here. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
9 present.
9 present. Before we begin the formal agenda, we have a brief presentation concerning the Mayor's Joint Youth Commission. Allison Carroll, the Youth Coordinator in the Parks and Recreation Department, and Mike Paglia, one of the assistants in my office, has been coordinating the activities of the Youth Commission for the past year. As most of you know, we have several young people who represent all of the high schools here in the city. So I would like to ask Mike Paglia to come to the microphone. He's going to introduce the members of the Youth Commission and tell us a little bit about their activities this past year, and I will present some citations to those members of the commission who were present. Michael Paglia.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. Members of the Council, City Manager. Thanks for giving me just a few minutes to fill you all in on the work that the Commission's been doing. As the Mayor mentioned, Allison Carroll and I have been coordinating the Commission since around November. And we have 9 Commission members, 5 of which are here this evening, so I'll just name all of them, and if the 5 who are here would like to wave or stand up. Patrick Choi, Beatrice Donka, Timothy Callery, and Natalie Pettit from Lowell High, Saravuthi Che and Shane Crowley from Greater Lowell Tech, Brittany Dion and Marquise Diaz from the Lowell Middlesex Academy Charter School, and Catherine Lee from Lowell Catholic. The 9 that were selected all filled out applications that were available at their schools, and then Allison and I, there were more applications than there were positions on the commission, so we did have to exclude a few students. The first couple of meetings, they presented Allison and I with a list of concerns and interests for the commission, some of which included an anti-litter campaign, developing a teen center, college nights, job development, safety and police presence downtown, concerns about drug use, interest in running a winter clothing drive, and also encouraging community service among high school students. So I won't go through the whole list of volunteer service. Most of it's mentioned on the citation that the mayor will read, but about once a month we volunteered, and that included serving about 60 seniors their lunch one month at the Friday Social. We held a winter clothing drive at all the schools. Also had a food drive as part of the Merrimack Valley Food Pantry's pantry raid that they have each spring. And a few of us did some painting and staining of benches down on the Riverwalk a couple of weeks ago. So I guess in conclusion, there are some members of the commission who are not seniors and are not graduating and will be meeting through the summer with us to keep the commission going and hopefully recruit some new members. And Allison and I also created a survey and evaluation that we had the members fill out, and so they gave some good suggestions to us that we can use for future meetings. So that's about it. So thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to read one of the citations and present those to the members of the commission that are here. Be it hereby known to all in the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that we honor the Mayor's Joint Youth Commission is comprised of students from Lowell High School, Greater Lowell Technical High School, Lowell Catholic High School, and the Lowell Middlesex Academy Charter School. Commission members identified issues of concern to the youth of Lowell and provided valuable information to the mayor, his staff, and the youth coordinator in the Parks and Recreation Department. Commission members also participated in a number of volunteer activities, serving meals at the senior center, organizing a winter clothing and food drive, spending time with seniors at the Heritage Center, and lending a hand during spring cleanups. The entire City of Lowell is proud to honor the members of the Commission for their contribution to the Lowell community, and we wish them continued success in the future, given this 22nd day of May by me, the Mayor. Thank you all for your participation this year, and those of you who are interested next year, we hope to have you back. Thanks.
And Patrick wants to say a few words too. So.
My name is Patrick Choi, and I go to Lowell High School. I'm a sophomore there. And I think I speak for all of us when we say that we weren't expecting what we got from Mayor's Joint Youth Commission. We thought it would be somewhere we can participate and start doing something for Lowell. And I personally felt like we feel more active in Lowell, and surprisingly, we all have similar and different issues with Lowell and what we can do to improve the city. So I'd like to say thank you to Mike and Allison for all their hard work, and hopefully Mayor's Joint Youth Commission can go on for a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I, too, want to say thank you to Michael and Allison and all of the young people who participated this year. Thanks very much. We will move now on to the formal agenda. The first item is minutes of the May 15th meeting for acceptance. Motion approved by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under unfinished business, we have a loan order amending the loan order for the arena ice surfacing system to borrow $1,600,000 for the purpose of financing the purchase and installation of an ice surfacing system at the Songus Arena, including all costs incidental and related thereto, by amending the loan order passed January 23rd, 2007. This was a continuation of a public hearing from last week. Is there anybody here interested in speaking on this loan order? Any members of the public, either for or against? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. Mr. Manager, do you have a recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend at this time that this loan order be withdrawn. There is no need, from our standpoint, to move forward with this. I will come forward at a later date to rescind the earlier vote of $1 million. I'm happy to report that the work that we did in checking the system, once we were able to get in there and check out the ice system, has resulted in a determination that the system has a few pipes. It actually has 28 lengths of pipe that we've had to go in and replace, but that the system itself seems to be of adequate integrity. So at this point in time, I would ask that be withdrawn. Over the course of the next week, we're going to continue to do work on the system and double check that, and if anything further develops on that, I'll report that to the council.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I think this is a very prudent move. I support it, and let's take a long, hard look at the arena and what is in store for the future. I appreciate moving your part.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is good news, obviously, that we're not being asked to borrow this amount of money, $1.6 million tonight. My question is, do we have an estimate as to the cost? In other words, are we going to be asked, or will we have to borrow money to pay for the repair cost, or is it within reasonable range?
It's within reasonable range. We're actually doing several different things. We're replacing some of the pipes. That's obviously having some cost to us, but it's in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. We're also doing some maintenance work on some of the other equipment there. It's reached a point or an age at which we need to refurbish it. But again, that's of minimal cost, and it will be handled within the operating budget of the arena.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
That was my question as well,
Okay.
as what we were looking at the cost. Thank you.
Motion to withdraw the loan order.
Motion to withdraw the loan order by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia. Yes. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas. Comcast from last week.
Okay, we also have a matter held from last week concerning Comcast. Is there anybody here from Comcast? This is regarding a request for 165 feet of conduit in Dutton Street. Again, this was a public hearing that was recessed for 1 week. We will hear now from people in favor of this petition. Just give us your name and
Good
address,
evening,
please.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Dave Kavanaugh. My name's actually on that petition. I'm the project coordinator for Comcast, and Lowell is one of the cities that I'm the project coordinator for. And the petition in front of you was to do a 165 street opening to feed the facility at 491 Dutton Street, formerly, or currently still the textile mill, the new home of the Lowell Sun, and 45 new residential units being built up top. That's just to provide our phone service, cable service, and/or high-speed if they choose.
Okay.
And albeit considered the street, it's actually within the grass, which I think I did depict in the scope
Okay.
of work.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Motion to refer to the wire inspector by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, the matter will be referred to the wire inspector. Thank you very much, Mr. Kavanaugh. Next, we have communications from the city manager concerning responses to council motions and requests. Any questions or comments concerning any of the communications from the manager? Okay. Hearing none, is a motion to accept the communications placed on file by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, the communications are accepted, placed on file. Next item is an order pursuant to Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 13-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days, whereas the City of Lowell desires to make temporary rules regulating traffic under actual conditions for a period of 60 days, and whereas Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances, Section 13-6, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, authorizes the council to make such temporary rules for a period not to exceed 60 days. Now therefore be it ordained, adjudged, and decreed by the City Council of Lowell as follows: effective upon passage and continuing for a period of 60 days thereafter, the following temporary regulations shall be implemented. Parking for handicapped persons by adding 127 Dalton Street and 1 Bartlett Street. Second reading by title. An order pursuant to Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Councilor Armin Mercia, second by Councilor Caulfield. Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Lowell Downtown Neighborhood Association of $700 for use by the Parks and Recreation Department, whereas the Downtown Neighborhood Association desires to donate $700 to the city of Lowell to assist in the construction of a trolley playground at Mac Plaza, whereas the city desires to accept the gift of said sum to be utilized to assist in the construction of the trolley playground at Mac Plaza by the Parks and Recreation Department. Now therefore be it voted that the city manager be and hereby is authorized in the name of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Downtown Neighborhood Association of $700 for use by the Parks and Recreation Department to assist in the construction of a trolley playground at Mac Plaza, all pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally do hereby commend and officially thank the Lowell Downtown Neighborhood Association for their generosity displayed in donating the aforesaid gift to the City of Lowell for use by the Parks and Recreation Department. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift from the Lowell Downtown Neighborhood Association of $700 for use by the Parks and Recreation Department. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to comment about the downtown, and we know that it's a neighborhood, and it isn't just elderly people or just artists that don't have children. There's actual families that are moving downtown, and so they did have an urgent request to try to find some area, someplace that their children could play, and so they had a request, and they didn't just ask and do nothing about it. They actually got together, and this is the vote tonight to accept this gift. And we're seeing a lot of these things happen within neighborhoods. Just over the weekend, we were at Duchamp Park, where a young woman gave us money from the association in that neighborhood to have a gazebo and beautify a neighborhood through that beautiful park that it is now. And so the dedication was remarkable, and it's just the spirit of the city residents that come together and, you know, form a committee and give something back. They're asking for something, but not asking without sacrificing and planning and giving back to the city. And this is happening all over. And I just wanted to say that we have wonderful people in our city that just donate and help us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to agree with Councilor Rita Mercia. This is truly a partnership working with the Downtown Neighborhood Association. And in that spirit, if I could, Mr. Manager, ask that the graffiti equipment, it turns out the two sides of the MAC building have actually been hit with some graffiti. So I think in the spirit of working with the Downtown Neighborhood Association, if we could get that graffiti off that building, that would be helpful.
We'll send someone out tomorrow, Councilor.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is a great gift to the city, and we certainly appreciate it. And there's a citizen who would like to thank the council. Michael, suspension of the rules to allow this gentleman to speak. Thank you.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended for the purpose of hearing from a member of the association.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, members of the council. The Downtown Neighborhood Association has been pleased to engage with the city from everybody at the DPD on down to the many parents and children in the downtown who are going to be served by this playground that'll be put in at Mac Plaza. It's a wonderful thing. It's going to benefit not only residents but also visitors, tourists, and people utilizing downtown businesses. We think that, I think as a father, I'll be delighted to see my daughter playing there, to be able to talk with other parents while our children play, and also see the downtown have an attraction that brings in consumers for the products. So it's really my pleasure to come tonight with my family and say thank you very much, and just thank you from all levels of the city government. Thank you very much for the generosity and time and working with us and everybody in the neighborhood. We identified several dozen kids, many, twice that number of parents, some grandparents. You have a very happy downtown association and a lot of happy citizens. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate the contribution. Okay, anything further on this item? Roll call, please.
Councilor Ramirez? Yes. Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue? Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Okay. And Councilor
9 yeas.
Donahue asked to be recorded as yes. 9 yeas, the vote is approved. The next item is a loan order to borrow $20,300,000 for constructing, originally equipping, and furnishing a new elementary school, the Maury Elementary School, including the demolition of the existing buildings at the site where the new elementary school will be constructed and all costs incidental and related thereto, by amending the loan order passed May 22nd, 2001, to read as follows. It is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell by a 2/3 vote as follows, that the sum of $20,300,000 is appropriated for constructing, originally equipping, and furnishing a new elementary school, the Maury Elementary School, including the demolition of the existing buildings at the site where the new elementary school will be constructed and all costs incidental or related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the city manager, is authorized to borrow $20,300,000 under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 70B, or any other enabling authority, and that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under Chapter 44A of the General Laws, any and all of the bonds, and to provide such information and execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for these purposes. This matter is to be referred to a public hearing on May 29th. So moved by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to a public hearing on May 29th. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you. In a related matter, could we have a report from the manager on the status of the application for the new Butler School?
Yes, I'll contact the school department on that, and I believe that paperwork is being prepared to try to get in for the July 1st date.
Good, very good. Thank you.
Okay. The next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses of the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007. It is ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $202,000 is hereby appropriated to wastewater, salaries and wages overtime in the amount of $27,000, and to wastewater electricity in the amount of $175,000 for a total of $202,000. And in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is hereby transferred for said purpose from wastewater heating and gas, $10,000, wastewater professional services, $8,000, wastewater lab supplies, $9,000, and wastewater retained earnings, a budgeted item of $175,000 for a total of $202,000 to provide funds to cover unreimbursable costs relating to the recent flood. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer to meet fixed charges and current expenses for the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007. It is ordered to transfer $202,000. Questions?
No.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
You know, when I see transferred from these line items to other line items, and we're looking at, what if at budget time last year, we cut down to the bare bone and we didn't have this money to transfer to overtime and electricity? Where would this money have come from?
Well, Council, that is a difficult question. I think actually it speaks to something we talked about earlier at the Finance Subcommittee. We're fortunate that this is dealing in an enterprise fund in which there is a balance, but this speaks to the need of the city to have adequate reserves. That, as you note, you may note here that this is a result of the flood, and certainly we're going to try to track down some reimbursement for some of these costs, working with the state. But if, in fact, this wasn't there, then we would be in a situation where we'd have to make, at this point in time, with a month to go in the fiscal year, it would be very, very difficult to come up with this money. We'd have to, scour every department and stop
We would have to scour every department. Could we have?
If it were outside of an enterprise. This is an enterprise with a balance in the enterprise fund. But if this were just an ordinary department, we would have to go through and find savings in every other department, which would affect our ability to deliver services
Okay, well
throughout the city.
then, keeping that in mind, let's say we're into the next one, which would be Parks and Recreation, which isn't in an enterprise fund. Would we then have the right to take that money from other departments to move into the Parks and Recreation?
I would potentially, if there was a
Could you do that?
situation, if there was a situation that we needed to. Now, in that particular case, the decision is to open the O'Donnell pool. And if there weren't monies available within these other accounts to be able to transfer over, then we simply wouldn't be opening the O'Donnell pool. We wouldn't be making the repairs on the O'Donnell pool to open it up.
So you couldn't take, let's say, from the Treasurer's Department and put it into Parks and Recreation? Could you do that?
You could.
You can.
Sure, if I came forward with that
Okay,
proposal.
you could have
yes.
done that. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I mean, I'm just wondering if we cut to the bare bone.
Yeah,
and-
but I'm concerned about situations, as you pointed out in the first one, where it's the result of this flood, there's $202,000 worth of costs. If we didn't have adequate reserves if we didn't have adequate balance in the wastewater account, which we happen to have largely because we're preparing for the CSO project,
Right.
if we didn't have that, what would the city do for its wastewater? It would have no choice but to run that account into the deficit, which really isn't allowed.
I know.
And it would certainly be a finding, which is why it speaks to the need for the city to have adequate reserves that it can draw upon for emergencies.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Through you to the manager or Mr., I'm just curious, there's a very high amount of $175,000 for electricity. I'm just more curious, is that, I'm sure it's from running the pumps, but is it running extra pumps? Is it?
Mr. Young, could you?
Council, as you know, during the flood, a lot of the flow that comes down the pipe, so to speak, goes to wastewater, so we have to run a lot more equipment than normal, and particularly the influent pumps, which use a lot of electricity.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm going to support it, but again, it does speak to the need of making sure in the event of emergency. Luckily, we have that enterprise fund, which I'll speak to later, but we have another number of other areas, should there be a disaster, i.e. the water, garage, other areas that we need to convert, which is recommendations from the Department of Revenue into these accounts. So there is, this is called retained earnings, but essentially it's money set aside for capital improvements or for emergencies such as this. Is that correct, Mr. Manager? That's where this money is coming from?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the recent flood that we experienced that weekend, Sunday evening into Monday, you don't realize the cost. You don't realize the labor associated with a cleanup and helping people with their homes. And the wastewater, water utility, DPW, et cetera, once again, stepped to the plate, and they worked around the clock. Well, there's a price associated with that, and this is the price. And you just can't ignore the fact that it costs money. And the flood last year, we were reimbursed by the state. We did get federal assistance. This year, we didn't. So I want to thank Mark Young and the men and women who work at the waste treatment plant, along with other employees, for going above and beyond. And there's a cost associated with that. So I'm certainly going to support this.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor, through you to the city manager. The possibility of getting any money from the state for this flood is curtailed, or?
No, we're still following up on that, Councilor.
Okay, and so if we are successful, what would happen? Would it go back to this?
When it came back in, it would be transferred back into the enterprise.
Back to the enterprise. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Any further questions? Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the transfer is approved. Next, we will move to the public hearings at 7 p.m. There is one public hearing scheduled. It's a petition by Cross Point Limited Partnership requesting an additional 1,000 gallons of diesel fuel storage for a generator. We will open the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. Anybody here wishing to speak in favor? I don't, Counselor Donahue.
I'd move to recess the public hearing to notify, do we have a report from the police, from the fire?
Well, the fire chief has signed off on the application for the
Okay.
license that I have
All right, then I'll
here.
withdraw my motion.
I'm not sure anybody intended to be here from Cross Point. So
Move approval.
let me close the public
I'm
hearing
sorry.
first. So anybody here wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Motion to approve the petition by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Milanazzo. Roll call, please.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Yes.
9 yeas, the petition is approved. The next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses for the City of Lowell for the fiscal year 2006-2007. It is ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $11,000 is hereby appropriated to Parks and Recreation Playground account, $11,000, and in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is transferred for said purpose from Parks and Recreation salaries and wages permanent in the amount of $9,000 and cemetery salaries and wages permanent in the amount of $2,000 for a total of $11,000 to provide funds to get the O'Donnell Pool on Gorham Street open for the summer of 2007. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title, an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses for this fiscal year 2006-2007. The amount of $11,000 is hereby transferred.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to either the manager or to Mr. Bellegarde. This transfer of $11,000, will this also provide staffing at the pool? No. Okay.
No, will not. That would come out of the fiscal year '08 budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Once approved.
Any further discussion on the motion?
So-
Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're opening O'Donnell Pool, which I agree with, but what do you mean we won't have staffing? We're not having a lifeguard there?
No, the staffing is
year.
paid for out of the fiscal year '08 budget, which starts July 1st.
So we will have people there that will
Yes.
be able to maintain the pool?
Yes.
Because I know we have a number of layoffs, and it's one thing to open a pool, but it's another thing to maintain it. So we're going to be able to have someone put in the chlorine or whatever it needs to be done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Okay, 8 yeas, 1 absent. The transfer is approved. The next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses of the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007. It is ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $25,573 is hereby appropriated to Parks and Recreation gas and motor oil supplies, the amount of $25,573. And in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is hereby transferred for said purpose from numerous various accounts to provide funds to purchase gasoline and diesel fuel for the department until the end of the fiscal year.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Rita Mercier, second by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, I guess end of year, we're making transfers naturally to cover the bills that we have, but I'm looking forward a little bit. And are we going to be able to maintain these budget levels for next fiscal year? Is that something that you're looking into? Presumably, some of these line items that we're transferring out and into may not be there next year, and how can we maintain those levels? Particularly as I look at gas and oil, and I'm sure it's a similar situation with other departments. So is this similar to what we're looking for next year?
I think the best way to answer that, Councilor, is that when we did the budget for fiscal year '08, we delivered to you last week, you notice that in many cases, in most cases, we increased the amount of appropriation for utility-related costs, exactly as you have shed some light on here, that these numbers were lower than they should have been, perhaps. On the other hand, you know, certainly the price of gasoline has gone up very recently, much more than we expected it to some months ago. But we've tried in the budget that you have before you for next year to really be very realistic with the cost estimates within the expenditure side as well as the revenue side of the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the transfer is approved. The next item is an appropriation transfer in City Council in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses for the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007. It is ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $87,999 is hereby appropriated to police salaries and wages overtime in the amount of $75,499, to police buyback sick leave in the amount of $9,500, and to police gas and motor oil the amount of $3,000, for a total of $87,999. And in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is hereby transferred for said purpose from various listed accounts to provide funds to meet projected expenses for fiscal year 2007. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title. In order to meet fixed charges and current expenses for the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007, it is ordered by the City Council of Lowell that the amount of $87,999 is appropriated. Questions on, Mr. Manager? Did you, Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank Chief LaValle for being so innovative, ways and means of putting more police officers on the streets of our city, especially downtown. And I want to point out, if my colleagues would look, $66,000 of this money is coming from court time and comp time. And I just want to point that out because in the past, we never had enough money in those two line items.
Thank you. Mr. Manager? Do you
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Caulfield sort of hit upon the points I was going to make. If you'll notice where this money is going, it's going to gas and motor oil, which we've already talked about, the rising cost of gasoline, sick buyback leave. That's obviously contractual and you know, it's difficult to predict, but we're able to move that money in. But the largest chunk of this money is going into salaries and wages for overtime, specifically geared towards an effort that Chief LaValle and I have talked about of getting more patrols in the downtown area on the weekend nights when they, you know, we seem to be experiencing some problems, and we're trying to work on that now with the neighborhood and with the businesses. So I think that it's a solution that Chief LaValle came up with to try to address some of those issues that we've identified, and I certainly would ask for your support. I think it's already made an important change down there, and certainly a commitment to the residents that we're looking out for them and their concerns, but also for the bar owners down there, the establishment owners, those that cooperate with us, to know that we're there to support them, and also to those establishments that aren't necessarily cooperating, if there are any, to know that we do have police officers down there we will be enforcing to the fullest.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager, I think this is long overdue to really work with the downtown residents. My question, though, this will only bring us through June 30th, as I understand it, will only bring us through FY07.
That's correct.
Okay. What is the chief's plan come July 1st?
We're developing that now to ensure that there is adequate coverage in the downtown area beyond July 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call on the transfer.
Councilor Ramirez? Yes. Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the transfer is approved. Subcommittee reports. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two subcommittee reports. The first one is last night, the flood subcommittee met here in the chamber to go over and get an update from the assistant city manager and residents as well on current flood that took place just recently. The mayor was in attendance, Council Milanazzo, as well as Council Caulfield and Council Ramirez, T.J. McCarthy, as well as ward captains Mr. John Sargent, Mr. Barabee, and Mr. Belay, as well as numerous residents from the Townsend area, as well as the Rosemont, Alma, New York, Lafayette area. Of course, the central focus of the discussion was the future. We did have residents from Townsend Ave come down, Mr. Manager and Mr. Mayor, out of concern of plan or lack of a plan in that particular area of the city, considering the occurrences of the last two floods. They're looking for a plan. They're working with the Pawtuckaville Citizens Neighborhood Organization to come up with an action item or a list of items. I think the notification was the biggest concern for people in that particular area. TJ, I'll ask TJ to speak after, but essentially we tried to use the reverse E911 to notify residents. That's not working. We're trying to get a better plan. It's my understanding to try to use that system a little bit more effectively. Police did go door to door, but I think the concern is that we get a little bit more timely or efficient notification of people in that neighborhood. Again, I think folks over, and again, they were looking for some protection from the Merrimack River, a berm. Suggestions were made, dredging Clay Pit Brook. Naturally, that's a body of water that rises and ends up in their cellars as a result of a lot of precipitation and rainfall. Similarly, we had residents from Deschanel Drive concerned, right at New York Street and Deschanel Drive. They have two flow-through foundations. Both times they were flooded out. So they were concerned that when the city did go over and put a berm on Martin Street and beefed up the berm along along the Beaver Brook, that part of the berm didn't include their property. They felt they were alienated, but I think Mr. McCarthy explained that that wasn't the plan from the engineering perspective. And again, I will ask you, Mr. Manager and Mr. McCarthy, to speak. That wasn't the plan. The plan was just to try to keep the water back as much as we possibly could, and we're sort of following the water line and putting sand as is. But ultimately, they would like an interim plan. They were going to submit some recommendations, some concerns, some items that they would like to see worked on in a letter. Within the next couple of 2 to 3 weeks, we'll meet again within a month's time to find out where we're at. I think Mr. Belay is going to work with residents in the Townsend, Shirley, Malden area to come up with ward captains to have a similar process and organizational structure in place as is down on Rosemont Terrace. But the ultimate concern naturally is that we have the Army Corps of Engineers come in do a survey and come up with a plan. What can we do in the future? I know we've been in contact with them. I know that Congressman Meehan tried to have an appropriation put into the Army Corps appropriation language, which did not make it. T.J. McCarthy did indicate that some money was being set aside to do a study in that particular area. Naturally, the subcommittee felt that we should also include Townsend Ave as part of any study. And a motion was made by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Ramirez, that we do contact Army Corps engineer again, find out where they're at. TJ did indicate that there might have been a time frame of 2 weeks that they were coming in that particular area. We'd like to also have them focus out on the Boulevard area as well. But that was the motion that passed unanimously. Second motion was, in the absence of the Army Corps of Engineer not coming in a timely manner, can we contact the University of Lowell, considering it's one of the top engineering schools, at least in this particular region, and if not in the country, to see if they have interns, a program someone that can take a look at it, maybe do some preliminary data gathering, maybe some preliminary surveying. I think we've all seen them doing a survey or shooting the grades out at University Ave. Maybe that's an avenue to explore, short of the Army Corps of Engineer coming in a timely manner. I think what people do want, and we've all heard loud and clear, is that they want a plan. They want to know that something is going to be done, and the Army Corps is not just going to, give us sort of the shuffle, and then, we know they don't have a lot of money, but this is a priority, and we would like them here as soon as possible. Short of that, a motion was made to see if we can contact UMass Lowell to see if they have some students, a professor, that can provide some service to the community. It seems like it's a good fit. It's a report of progress. We will meet again in a month. Mr. Manager, I believe the neighborhood organization on Townsend, Malden, Shirley, Lexington, they're going to be submitting a letter to you after they get a little bit more information on what they think their needs are. Submitted to you in the subcommittee. We'll meet again and try to put it into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Manager?
Council, if I could respond to some of that, I certainly think we need to, in situations of emergencies, you always have to beef up you always have to evaluate and make improvements on your communication systems, and I certainly think that's something we've learned through the years as municipalities, and certainly here in the city. And so certainly we're going to be working on that some more. And I think that the idea of ward captains, or that Mr. Belair is going to advise that neighborhood on, is a good idea, and certainly a citizen group that we can work with on a regular basis in terms of communication is very helpful. I think that that Townsend Road area is a tough one. It is such an expansive area. The Clay Pit Brook being dredged is something I've talked to some of the residents out there for 6 or 7 months now, just after the last flood. And it is a difficult one, and we did have some communications with our engineers about that, and they're doing some work on it, Woodward & Curran and CDM, to see if there's some steps that could be taken that we could bring to the Corps of Engineers. But certainly it's a complicated area to deal with flooding, much more complicated than the smaller area that we have over on the Rosemont Terrace area. But we did go take the Corps of Engineers out there last September when they were out. We brought them over to both neighborhoods and showed them those areas. We are continuing to work with the Corps on dealing with the flood control devices that go back to the 1940s, bringing those up to current standards or the appropriate standards. But we're continuing to push forward with them on trying to get this study done. Congressman Meehan, as you pointed out, did file legislation, did try to get an earmark for that. My understanding is that was not successful, but we're still pushing forward to see, through his office and on our own, to see if some money can be set aside. And I hope we will have some news on that. And as you point out, they are expected to be out here in the next couple of weeks to do a site visit. So we're working on this on a number of different fronts. I think the university is a great idea, a great resource that we can draw upon in a number of areas, and this is one that I don't think we've really had thought about until you just raised it, and I think it's a great idea, and one we'll certainly follow up on.
Let me just follow up very briefly. TJ did mention that CDM and the wastewater were working on a white paper to try to address some of those issues, so I stand corrected. He did mention that, so we appreciate it. Thank you. That's a report of progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. It was an excellent meeting last night, well-attended, well-versed, and the people on New York Street, the city took the initiative to extend that berm, and through TJ and your administration and everyone else associated, did an excellent job saving that neighborhood, but they couldn't do anything for the people on New York Street. And from what I understand, we couldn't go any further because we'd be into a legality issue, extending it and so forth. How can we cut through that bureaucracy, Mr. Manager, and let the city keep going?
Well, as I understand it, Councilor, it wasn't so much a legality question, and I'll stand corrected if that's the case, but I think what happened is it reaches a point in which it no longer is just filling the banks of the brook to prevent the water from coming over. You now get into a wetland area. and you can't fill wetlands, and I mean, it just becomes virtually impossible. That area just becomes so large that you wouldn't be able to put a berm that protected that. What happens is the water just backs up into that wetland area. It's a flood storage area, and it comes around and it goes into the basements of those homes. The best case, I think, would be if there's long-term could be something, and I'm not even sure this is feasible, to do something along the backs of those property all the way down that would hold that water back.
Right.
But again, so that's not really along the Beaver Brook, it's down along the backs of those properties.
Right.
Again, water finds its way, so I'm not sure where it goes. If it gets blocked off there, it goes farther back and may hit another neighborhood.
It was sad that evening because all we could do is just watch the water rise and engulf these 3 homes. And there was nothing we could do. And if we can take a long-term approach to find ways and means, and the Army Corps of Engineers, we've all said this, the Army Corps of Engineers, they have to get off the dime. They have to come in here and show some initiatives, and the federal government has to support them financially. And Senator Kerry has been very helpful. He's returned calls and so forth, but we need some action. We can't wait till next May and have this happen again. And that's what these people are looking for, some results.
Okay, thank you. Motion to adopt the report and recommendations of the subcommittee by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report and recommendations are adopted. Additional subcommittee report, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee subcommittee met this evening regarding the April 07 financial management review submitted by the Department of Revenue that was conducted since over the course of the last 5 or 6 months. The report outlines 20 recommendations. It provides a history of the city, a history of the analysis, and as I mentioned, 20 recommendations on improving the financial management of the city. The subcommittee met from 5 o'clock on. I won't go through, we went through most, if not all, of the recommendations. Some of them are well underway, including the Treasurer's Office, cash reconciliation, accounts receivable. Others will take some time and will require that we come up with a corrective action plan, which will include many of these recommendations. Some, for instance, create a formal finance department requires special legislation. Modify the budget format. The manager has done that. Purchase order streamlining. Adopt enterprise accounting for some of our accounts, water, trash, parking. As I mentioned, some recommendations have been done already in the Treasurer's Office. But in large part, this was a result of the manager, the Deputy Commissioner meeting with the manager back in August at the Department of Revenue's request, just to go over some financial issues that have been concerned for a number of years. The manager did ask the Department of Local Services to come in and do this. It's a free activity that is, activity evaluation that the Department of Revenue does. They do it for many communities. I believe the young woman from DOR said they've done approximately 350, but their resources are limited, and that's why they don't get all of them. So I think that we are lucky enough to have them come in and provide these recommendations. Some of them, as I mentioned, require statutory authority. Others require actions by the city manager, the assessor's office, procurement office, all the offices that have some financial management with the city. So I don't think we need to go over all of the recommendations again. The motion was to have the manager come with a report to provide an update on these 20 action items, let us know where we're at with addressing them, and what the future plans for those items that require additional action. So that's the most report of progress, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and we welcome any questions or added concerns from my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on this report? Motion to adopt the report by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is approved. Under petitions, any further subcommittee reports? Okay. Under petitions, there are 2 claims for property damage. A motion to refer to the Law Department by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The claims are referred to the Law Department. There are 2 miscellaneous petitions, one from Dennis Sargentelli, 59 Brad Street Ave, requesting a handicap parking sign, and the second from Manaya Fashion Pasta Grill, requesting a 15-minute parking sign, 515 Central Street. Motion to refer to the traffic engineer. These 2 petitions by Councilor Rita Mercier, second by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matters are referred to the traffic engineer. Under the motions, first motion is by Councilor Caulfield. Request the city manager seek federal, state historical funding for the renovation of St. Patrick's. Second by Councilor Milanazzo. There is somebody, I think, who's registered to speak, Father Taggart from St. Patrick's. Yeah, if you want to go first, Councilor, or you want to have Father Taggart go first. So
Father Taggart.
Father Taggart, please.
He's holier than you, bud. Let him go first.
Yeah, I don't have any outlined expense of repairs to put before you at this time, but it has happened last year in the floods. We're not close enough to a river, and the canal didn't overflow, but we were flooded during that time, and when we tore holes in the floor to let it dry out, we discovered that the foundation of the building over time has been leaking, and there was 5 different kinds of mold under the floor, so we had to do mold remediation. We had to tear up the floor, pour a new floor, put drainage. We do not have, we did that with some of our funds and with emergency funds that we were able to get from the diocese, but there still remains a whole bunch of repairs that we need to do on the foundation, on the parking lot side, which still leaks like a sieve into the basement. And we've been in the process of trying to collect funds to finish the renovations of the upstairs church, and some of the windows that we've repaired now have bullet holes and have had rocks go through them. And Garrett could tell you better than I can what they cost. They cost about $5,000 a window, didn't they? So we're trying to fix it up, and finding ourselves in pretty tough financial straits. So if there were any kind of funds available because of the historic nature of the place, we'd be grateful for the assistance.
Okay. Thank you, Father. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I was in the company of Father Taggart last week, and I was asking him how things were going at the church. And I've been watching the renovations in the upper church. And the church, Mr. Manager, has so much history. It's the first Roman Catholic church built north of Boston. It just celebrated its 175th anniversary, built by Irish immigrants, and today it is still serving the immigrants of our city. Absolutely beauty. I can't describe the beauty of that church. And I mentioned to Father Taggart that I would bring a motion forward to see if there was any historical, state, or federal funding. I know that there are churches in our city who have received some funding because of the history of the church. St. Patrick's Church is on the historical register, and it should be, along with many other historical buildings in our city. But they need some assistance, they need some help, and if there's any funding available, I would appreciate it. I know the parishioners, Father Taggart would, if you could just go the extra step to see if there's any funding out there. They need some help. So that's the gist of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, a couple of points. We'll certainly research this and see if there's some state or federal money that St. Patrick's could apply for, and we'll track that down and be in touch with Father Taggart on that. The other possibility that Mr. McCarthy and I were just discussing was the possibility of some funding through the SBA as a result of the flooding. It may be an issue where it happened a year ago, but we can see if there's something that can be done along those lines as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any further discussion All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next motion by Councilor Ramirez, City Council requests the city manager provide an update on Phase 2 of the Acre Revitalization Plan. Second by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo.
Going to miss you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask my colleagues to do a suspension of the rules for a motion, I'd like to bring in if I could.
Well, let's act on this motion
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry.
Any
Thought I was
discussion on this motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rita Mercia for the purpose of bringing in a motion.
Bringing in a motion, yes. I received a phone call today from a woman I work with, and she lives at the corner of Wilder and B Street. And I guess last night there was a pretty horrific car accident, and I'm requesting, based upon that conversation, if the city manager could look at putting a four-way stop sign at the corner of Wilder and B Street. I guess there's been a number of accidents there, and this one last night was pretty tough. So if we could look at that.
So moved by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Councilor Armin Mercier.
I just have a request. I don't think it requires a motion, but if I could, through the manager to the law department, prior to the budget hearing scheduled for next week, if we could get some sort of memo from the law department on what our authority is under Plan E form of government. I know that it's customary to say you can't add, you can only cut, but I'd just like to know if there are other authorities that we may have based on the complexity of that budget. If we could just get some sort of one-page memo from the law department that says under Plan E form of government, this is the authority that the council has vested in them as it relates to the budget and the budget only. If that's not a problem, I'd like to make that request.
Okay. I don't think that's an issue, Councilor.
Okay.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
I thought there was only 3 things we could do to the budget. Accept it, reject it, or reduce it.
We'll find out from the law department.
You think there's more?
I don't know.
Wow. Wow.
All right. I, too, was going to request that the rules be suspended for me to bring in a motion. I had actually filed it. The clerk had it on for next week, but I think we're trying to keep the agenda light next week in light of the budget hearing. So motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Ramirez for the purpose of considering a motion. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? My motion results from a constituent request. It is to have the city council request the city manager have the proper department clear the culvert under Hovey Street at the Wyman Bird Sanctuary near Wentworth Avenue. Second by Councilor Milonazo. I think that speaks for itself as well. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Councilor Caulfield.
One last thing, Mr. Mayor. I keep neglecting to file this motion, and I hope my colleagues allow this on the floor. As we well know, the Lowell Sun has moved to the Textile History Museum, and sometimes to get out of that driveway, it's kind of treacherous. Cars are just speeding. If we can install a sign, Mr. Manager, on Dutton Street, cars exiting, or some warning to these vehicles that we had a selectman-elect from Drake get into an accident there. And when you're trying to pull out, there's no warning, there's no sign, nothing, that cars are exiting. So if you could address that.
Would that be exiting out of the driveway?
Actually, it'd be on Dutton Street, indicating to the motorist, cars are exiting.
From their driveway?
Yes, yes, because it's more so now than ever, because now you have an awful lot of traffic exiting out of that driveway.
God forbid a reporter would get hit. I think that's a great motion.
Okay.
It didn't hurt the selectman because he did win the race anyway.
Right.
Yes.
Free publicity. All right. I have an announcement to make. I believe the clerk had polled members of the city council, and I think it's an agreement that in lieu of having a budget hearing, then a city council meeting, then return to the budget hearing, that it would be more advisable to have the council meeting first next week at 5 p.m. And so because there's going to be a change in the usual time, I think it requires that we announce that at this meeting before we adjourn. So I just want to read a brief statement that the Lowell City Council will meet in regular session Tuesday, May 29, 2007 at 5 p.m. in the City Council chambers in order to accommodate the scheduling of public hearings for consideration of the proposed fiscal 2008 City of Lowell budget. The public hearings for consideration of the proposed budget for fiscal 2008 City of Lowell will be held Tuesday, May 29, 2007 at 5:30 p.m. and Wednesday, May 30, 2007 at 5 p.m. So that will be the schedule for next week. Do we need to vote? So that's the announcement of the schedule for next week. I also think council has heard from the manager, who has requested that we meet in executive session this evening. And if there is a motion to do that, it would be in this format: move to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to the Devils lease and the prospect of litigation regarding the lease and funding issues surrounding it, public discussion of which might have a detrimental effect on the city's position, and 2, to conclude the meeting, and adjourn this meeting at the conclusion of the executive session, so that we would not then reconvene in open session. So moved by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Discussion on the motion.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
I would like to have the law department weigh in on this as it relates to executive session requirements under the law, so that when we do go in there, we do have the sanction of the law department, if we can.
Madam Solicitor, you have a...
In terms of the requirements having been satisfied as a prerequisite for going into executive session, there's both the issue of potential litigation and the fact that the underlying matter that we're dealing with is a lease, both of which are sufficient grounds for going into executive session. And again, as noted in the mayor's motion, any public discussion of either matters of litigation or lease negotiations and matters pertaining to a lease could result in a detrimental effect to the city's overall position. And so you'd be on good grounds to go into executive session.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion to go into executive session? Roll call, please.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay. We will convene an executive session in the manager's conference room, and we will not reconvene in open session. So this meeting is concluded for the public portion of the meeting.